I've eaten some shit in my life, but never literally.
Holy sh! This is some of the most insane and skin-crawling kind of gross I've ever seen.
I've eaten rats, scavenged and recooked fast food, live fish.
Oh man, I'm never doing that again.
Every kind of insect that you could imagine. And oddly enough, even if I don't like it, after I try the food, I kind of got why. I understood why people would eat it. But cow shit soup.
It's just one of those things you can't fathom being put into a dish.
A favourite of Vietnam's Nung people. I'm just at a loss for why. What cultural enlightenment am I possibly going to get from eating this?
Maybe one of the least appetizing soups that I've ever seen.
To find out, we're venturing deep into the impenetrable, jagged mountains that separate Vietnam from China. Here, a remote hill tribe that I know little about, called the Nung, have a penchant for soup. So today's mission is to find and eat cow dung soup and learn a little bit about this remote people along the way.
And this jewelry, this bling, is pretty central to Nung culture. In fact, it's one of my favorite things about Nung culture.
We're starting out in Hoang Su Phi market, a minority market at the center of this small town. These kind of markets are minority melting pots, where family farmers descend from isolated family homes to trade farmed, foraged, and homemade goods. And I love them. It is, in my opinion, the best way to get a snapshot of an area's culture.
This market's kind of cool, kind of crazy. A lot of ethnicities walking around. I see Thai people, I see Hmong people, very colorful Hmong people. Seems like a lot of fun, so let's check it out. But I'm in search of something specific, and that is cow soup. Not kidding. This might be my biggest challenge yet.
Much of Vietnam's north is dominated by the Hmong, but this area is a bastion for the Nung people. And that's a good sign, because from my research, I'm aware that the Nung people eat cow dung soup, but I know little else about them, and that's why I'm here to learn.
One of my favorite things about these kinds of markets is just the ways in which all the different people transport the goods. And so if you buy a pig here, you've got to find a way to get that back home, and it usually consists of some kind of pig tube. I don't know why I love it, but I do.
One thing that stands out to me right away about the Nung is the bling. Silver and gold jewelry is traditionally worn by women as part of the headdress. Silver jewelry is common to many of the northern minorities, but the Nung just seem to be taking it to another level. There are ladies walking around that look like the Vietnamese version of Mr. T. There's gold grills, and I'm kind of into it.
Oh, we found the bling center of the market. I always love minority bling.
Keen to find out more, I pick up some jewelry for the lady in my life.
If you're interested in the price, both of these earrings, I believe, are about 1 million Vnd each, maybe $40.
And one of the vendors invites me to visit her home where it's made. Sounds like a fun side quest, but we're not getting distracted. We have a mission, a sacred quest: cow dung soup.
At these markets, you tend to find like a bunch of kind of 50-50 creatures, stuff that you would not get away with selling in bulk, that's for damn sure, or even at a store, but I guess it kind of gets a pass when it's sold at markets like these. So I just saw one of these bamboo rats. Does seem a little bit harsh to me, but again, technically illegal. Then no one's going to question you, especially on the borders like this. Alright, so these lovely young ladies have been kind enough to gift me some of their, I believe, rice wine. It's actually pretty good. Usually I find rice wine to just be like absolutely gut churning. And you can get this full mix from relatively light all the way through to just paint stripper. This is pretty light. That's good rice wine. I'm going to be a total alco by the end of this trip. It's kind of rough. A lot of interesting stuff. Killer market. But no soup. How disappointing.
No matter how hard I look, I just can't find any. I'm scouting every inch of this market for a dish, and I'm just coming up stumps. And then hope. A local butcher is selling offal next to his store. It's a dish called
Thành Cô.
When butchering the animals, anything that's not meat is getting thrown in this pot. You pull up on your bike and you get a takeaway. It's not cow dung soup, but it's a close cousin.
Alright guys, dish number one. We have found Thành Cô. It is not exactly the cow soup, but it is all the other cow organs mixed up. I've got to admit, It actually smells really good, and we have like everything in here. I see blood cubes, I see pieces of liver, and I think we're just gonna dig in. This is like one giant ass ball of organs. And this entire bowl was $2.50. I mean, that's a good deal, right? Let's try this giant bit of blood cube. So, wow. And no, it's great. I'm a big fan of blood cubes, but here in Vietnam, it's usually pork. That one is really rich. It has that really irony flavor. The pork ones are far more flavorless. They have these chunks of intestine you can see. I guess it's kind of like the tripe you would see in other countries. It has a little bit of that gamey flavor. Let's hope it's just gamey. And it's got some chew to it, some real chew to it. And a lot of flavor. It's much stronger than tripe that I've had before. This is pretty good. Potentially, we do have to take it up to another level. I've got to admit, this is decent food.
And although we're not quite there yet, the butcher gives me a lead. A Nung restaurant in town that specializes in goat dung soup.
Don't worry, we'll find that. I have faith. This area is renowned for it.
It's not cow, but it's close enough. It's cooked the same way because of this. Ruminant digestive systems. Goats, like cows, have a ruminant digestive system. This system is characterized by its 4-chambered stomach, which includes a rumen, a reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. They start out by chewing and swallowing grass, which enters the rumen. Microbes break down the fibrous content. Then the partially digested food is regurgitated as curd, rechewed, and further broken down and swallowed again. It passes the reticulum, the omasum, and finally the abomasum, where the digestive enzymes break down the proteins. And at some point along this process, inedible grass becomes edible, pre-digested, fermented grass. And I'm not really sure at what stage you would consider this poop. Does it have to leave the animal? Does it really matter? Whatever it is now edible, apparently. Or it imparts some kind of unique flavor, and that's what we're about to use. That's what this is about. Because we are in luck. Fresh from the market we were just at, we've got a goat.
And in some ways, being a little disappointed, we have finally located a Nung restaurant up here on the hillsides, and they serve all kinds of goat, including goat fear, I believe it's called, which is essentially goat soup. It's not exactly what I was after, but it's a decent substitute. I'm not exactly looking forward to it.
Things start out with an entire goat carcass, because nothing goes to waste here, and a bag full of organs and intestines filled with our key ingredient. And boy, does it make all the difference, because this looks absolutely nothing like the dish that we just ate earlier here.
Our chef starts out by washing the goat intestines and organs. She adds a squeeze of lime juice for a touch of acidity to ensure that everything is fresh and a little less slimy. Next up, we begin preparing the organs. Each part is meticulously prepared and chopped up. In a cast iron pan, she fries the chopped organs, adds a little bit of water and brings it up to the boil. A handful of fresh coriander is chopped up to be added to the mix. And finally, with a pair of scissors, she carefully opens the intestines, still containing the half-digested grass or goat dung. The mix is brought to a vigorous boil, and a green, bubbling mass of what some might call nature's leftovers is now ready, and this will be the base of our soup. Finally, the small intestines, once vibrant, green, and stuffed with grass, are now steamed and a little less colorful, are sliced into macaroni-sized pieces. These go back into the wok as the final ingredient of our goat dung soup.
All right, guys, here we have Nam Pie. It's sort of not cow soup, but goat soup, which I'm not really sure how I feel about. It could be better or worse. I'll never know, because I doubt I'm ever gonna eat this again. There's something about using literal shit as an ingredient that kind of gets you. I don't know, it's just sort of, this might be my final boss. You know what I mean? So I don't know how exactly we're gonna do this. I don't know what we're supposed to do. I think we maybe start with some easy stuff. Let's start with like a piece of this liver. How about that? Oh, I was about to say there's not much flavor to that, but no. You get that real bitterness, almost from like a bile-like flavor. I mean, everything that is in this dish, I think it's gonna have that really strong, rich bile-like vibe. That was absolutely intense. I need to take some of this juice. I I'm telling you, man, this juice is maybe one of the least appetizing soups that I've ever seen. Oh, it's definitely the visuals, but it's also the smell. It's just about everything. Oh, wow. That is like intensely bitter. Again, I think whatever you get from that flavor, that bitter flavor that I've had when I'm eating bile before, that is by far the strongest flavor that comes through here. It's just intense how overloaded that is. Let's start working our way up to one of the more loaded intestines. This here, some random organ. A bit of the banana flour with some of this intestine. Oh, and that's got chew to it. And again, that's got that bile flavor, man. Oh, I mean, some of that intestine is so chewy. An insane influx of just your mouth tingling. Oh, the closest thing that I've ever had to this actually was a sort of horse intestine soup in Mongolia. And that was prepared in a relatively similar manner, maybe like less chopping up, but just everything within one bowl. I think that's like the definition of gamey.
Wow.
How are you just sucking that down like that? And that also was maybe one of the more difficult things that I've had to eat. I've got to admit, maybe it's because I haven't found a chunk of it yet, but the fact that it literally has the sort of undigested juice in here, that's maybe more mentally off-putting than really the flavor is. Again, I would say this is around about as tough to eat as that soup in Mongolia. There you go, that's what I'm looking for. It's kind of compressed down now, but this has whatever was inside it. I don't know whether you would call it. This really does seem to be a kind of like Nung specialty. This entire region is filled with the Nung people. At the market this morning, they don't exactly have this, but they have another organ soup. So I'm glad that we're able to tick it off the bucket list. Maybe I'm just procrastinating. Oh yeah. Yeah, that has that flavor. It doesn't have a grassy flavor, which I imagine is what goats eat. It just has a really more of a bile-like flavor than anything else I would imagine. There you have it, guys. Goat soup. Guys, I've got to admit, I thought the eating scene was over, but now they've just brought out a bunch of raw goat meat, some kind of iffy looking sauce, and wasabi. I've been told to mix the wasabi in this sauce. We have some leaves that we've sort of picked from this nearby tree here. We're gonna put a little bit of wasabi in here. I'm just gonna put a little bit in. I don't like too much wasabi. So we're gonna mix. Whatever this mystery sauce is, I can smell some kind of like citrusy flavors coming out of it. I'm being told off camera to dunk it quite hard. And all right, wrap it in a leaf. Maybe this is gonna make it easier. All right, guys, there's that taco. I don't know if I'm gonna do this again so you guys are getting a close up right now. Let's go. Oh, wow. Oh, and that is spicy and garlicky. That will rip your head off. The closest thing I've had to that is the raw buffalo in Laos. That is just raw overload. Citrusy, spicy, wasabi, just everything. I guess that's how you manage to eat raw goat meat. That is intense, seriously intense. A little bit chewy, but just generally really good.
I failed, guys. Obviously, I'm not going to try and justify it. We set out here with a goal, cow soup, and we compromised. We had to, with a goat. And while some people would just roll with it, call it close enough, not me. I'll always keep it real with you guys. We failed. Goat soup is a failure. But is this a food that I now get, that I understand? Is there some kind of culinary genius behind this dish? No. But the quest to find it did bring me deep into the world of the Nung, a people that I knew nothing about, but that have a rich, little documented history. The quest for this obscure food took me deep into a forgotten, remote corner of this country that few people ever see. I learned about their extreme death customs, their spiritual connection with smoking, the extreme lengths that they go to not waste anything from an animal, their propensity for drinking cassava vodka, and maybe my favorite thing about Nung culture, their passion for bling. And so the next day, we initiate the side quest, and we kick it out to a remote village where the silver jewelry is still made. Nung jewelry was traditionally handcrafted from silver trade dollars. It holds deep cultural significance. These elaborate pieces are used to symbolize social status and wealth. But There's a spiritual side to it also. The designs often feature animals like butterflies or crabs, believed by the Nung to ward off evil spirits and protect the wearer.
And they were telling me that when they die, that it's essential everyone has one of these pins placed on their forehead, and that's how you're buried.
This is to protect the deceased in the afterlife. Silver trade coins are still found in some of the designs.
And it says a date perhaps on the back. All right, so it says 1937. Remember, Indochina, still very much part of Indochina at that time. And that's what all this jewelry is often made from. Still to this day made from French silver trade coins.
But nowadays, they mainly use sheets of silver commercially purchased from China. But all the jewelry is handmade in small villages like this.
We're here to watch jewelry be brought to life. In this instance, a hairpin of the Nung people. Our jeweler starts out with a large, thin sheet of silver. He cuts this into a rough disc with a pair of shears. Next up, using a small handheld blowtorch, he starts blasting the silver plate until it's piping hot. This hot sheet of silver is then placed into a hammer-operated press, and with a few smacks of the hammer, the rough shape begins to form. From here on, we need to bring out the detail. So with a hammer and a steel striking rod, he meticulously pounds out the rough pattern left by the press, shaping the intricate details of this butterfly hairpin. Once the larger details are done, he then heats it once again with a blowtorch and then places it back into the press for another round of hammering. This process is repeated a number of times until all of the details of this butterfly are complete. A chisel is then used to chip away at any excess silver, leaving only the detailed parts of the hairpin. To add the pin itself to this now decorative butterfly, a welding mix or compound is painted into various points of the hairpin's underside, preparing it for the assembly. A long, straight piece of silver is cut and hammered into place. The pin itself is first tied into place and then heated so that the welding compound will join the two sections of silver.
All right, so just whilst they are finishing up one of these designs, you can see what's going on. It's sort of each of these hairpins has a motif, a design on it. This one is in fact a butterfly, I believe. I saw a crab, birds, other creatures. And this jewelry, this bling, is pretty central to Nung culture. In fact, it's one of my favorite things about Nung culture.
Finally, taking the jewelry outside, we begin to scrub it thoroughly with rice husks, removing any dirt and oil. And one final heating with a blowtorch takes place before dunking it in water, and it emerges a shiny silver.
That is it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode on the Nung people, Nung culture. It is challenging in many respects, but completely fascinating to me. Nonetheless, if you liked it, please let me know in the comments. If you didn't, let me know as well. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.